Hello, everyone. This is Tom, your host for the Hidden Truths channel. How's everybody doing this Memorial Day? Anyway, I want to do my live stream tonight is going to be on remembering people on Memorial Day and the government just making more people we have to remember on Memorial Day because of their actions. But it doesn't seem to be any politicians, does it? Anyway, that's what the subject's going to be on today. I'm a vet, so this day's kind of different, okay? But, last thing we need to do is create more people to remember on Memorial Day. So that's what the subject's going to be on today. Anyway, if you want to fast forward a couple minutes into it till we get to the subject, I just got to wait for some people to show up for YouTube to send out notifications and possibly get some few people into the live stream. I tell you what, YouTube, they have been hard on me. All conservative channels. I won't even say conservative anymore. I'll say constitutional American type of channels, okay? They can't stand them. And they play their little games, okay? But they think we're stupid, okay? We get our analytics and stuff. And when you had a channel that was canceled and you compare the analytics from that to this, I mean, it's just obvious. But, whatever. I guess if what this guy has to say is so offensive that it's just got to be shut up. But, in the long run, it's just going to make the problem worse. When people feel disenfranchised, silenced, like they don't matter anymore, but they sit there and got to go tough out every day to make other people's lives happier. Okay, it'll change. All right. But when these people are finally brought to justice for infringing on our constitutional rights, okay, there isn't going to be no defense. Okay, and this is the thing. All these social media platforms, I don't care who, if it's X, whatever, they can flat out do this, blatantly do this type of stuff because it doesn't matter anymore. They can flat out admit they're doing it. You're not fooling anybody, but nobody's held accountable anymore except for you and I to make sure we wear our seatbelts, pay our taxes, and do everything that's required of us to be good Americans. While we're ruled by not such good Americans that make terrible decisions. And we're going to get into that. Adrian, hi, how's it going? Appreciate you being here. Hey, we're going to talk about, we get into the subject, Memorial Day, okay? Just making more people that we're going to have to remember on Memorial Day. Felon. Who's a felon? Anyway, why we need to sit there, they have Memorial Day services, and then he sits there and talks about all God tanks. Felon. I don't know if that's supposed to be me, but no, I'm a Marine. Sorry, not a felon here. But anyway, then he gets on and he starts talking about how he's upset with Russia and stuff. All there is war talk. Why do we have these memorials for these Memorial Day services and services for our service members and stuff when we sit there and get done with that, and then you flat out go to the cameras and start talking about war right away? But the politicians don't ever go to the front line. No, that's not their job. They don't have to sit there and deal with what a ground side jarhead has to deal with. They just place the orders, right? But we're going to just make them more Memorial Days, more people to remember, make our cemeteries bigger, say they died, in honor and stuff. Do you think these people died and they want war now so more people can sit there and pay the ultimate sacrifice? I'm just sick of it. During Memorial Day, I hate being thanked. I don't like being thanked as a veteran on Memorial Day or on Veterans Day. You shouldn't be thanked for what we did. We did what we were told, but it's nothing that you should be thanked for. You want to thank me? Let's end the wars. Let's all get along. Hey, Amanda, how's it going? I just ain't one of them that likes to be thanked for it. I got thanked twice a month when I was in the service to do my job. But stuff I did in there, we shouldn't be thanked for. We did our job. Okay. But say, you want to thank me? Let's end the wars. Let's all start getting along. Let's have a reason to sit there and have not more people to remember on Memorial Day. What do you think about Russia? I don't know. When Trump, see, I'll tell you what scares me about Russia and China. Maybe not North Korea so much, but Russia and China. The average American doesn't realize they can bomb us just like we can bomb them. And I'm not talking just nuclear missiles. I'm talking bombers flying over, all this stuff. So when he starts talking mean towards Russia and stuff in China, I don't know. Maybe we should have stopped surrounding, NATO should have stopped surrounding Russia years ago when we promised to, when Soviet Union fell, and we promised them, we kind of felt sorry for them, promised them all this stuff, that they could be their own little country and we weren't going to be bothering them no more. Maybe we should have stuck to that plan. But we got people in that obviously decided they want to start up the Cold War again and make it hot with Russia. Whatever. But, that's a little bit more concerning than a war with Iran. But like I say, it's just war. Did we just go through a Memorial Day today? Why do you want to create more people you have to remember? When you join the service like I did, and you go to the ground side, you're willing to pay the ultimate sacrifice. Okay, you realize that one day you may have to. But I made a short today. We go all over the world protecting democracy, but that doesn't do anything to protect our constitutional republic. What our military is supposed to do, right? Anyway, I just find it out all we want to do is make more victims. Make more victims, or heroes, however you want to call it, Bring home somebody in one of those metal coffins. They don't realize they're a hero. Anyway, all there is hate in the world. And then let's not even talk about World War III. Let's talk about all the stuff that they're trying to create in this country. Pissing people off, pitting them against each other, dividing them at whatever level they can divide them on. Whatever level that person's stupid enough to be divided on, even if they got to go down to the lowest level to what your color is to divide us. They're doing it. They want to start this race war. I mean, is that going to be more people to remember? Are we going to have a Civil War battlefield, cemetery for the war that's coming up? I tell you what, these politicians, they're not like the king the king that led his troops into the front of the battle and stuff. They're not like that. So, but I'm just getting sick of the talk. Every year, Memorial Day services, politicians do their thing, lay down their wreaths and stuff, and then talk about war. Spending $1 trillion plus on war this year in this country and the budget. Doesn't sound like peace to me. With all the other countries doing the same thing, raising their military budgets, doesn't sound like we got peace coming to me. Sounds like we're going to have a bunch of fun-filled more Memorial Days, huh? Maybe somebody in your family, you'll be celebrating the remembrance on Memorial Day next year. Yeah, I guess once you've been in it, you just want people to get along. You don't want people to have to realize how stupid it is when you get that far and you start shooting at each other. But we're just going to have more people to remember next year and the year after that when they get all these wars started. But, okay. I need to tell you guys, Google is in moderating, and they are deleting messages. So if you write something Google doesn't like, they come into my live stream every once in a while. I ain't got a lot of people in here, and since I ain't got a moderator, they do it. So I see they deleted a message from, I don't know, looked like from somebody in Russia. But anyway, that's another thing. Do you think I'm mad at the average Russian? I'm not mad at any Russian because, like I say, the Russians aren't the ones that are messing with me. The Russians aren't the one taking my money. The Russians aren't the ones that I got to worry about showing up at my house at 6 a.m. with a no-knock raid shooting me down. Okay? The Russian ain't giving me a seatbelt ticket because I happened to go 6 miles down a gravel road and didn't put on my seatbelt. I know who my enemy is. And it's right here in this country. It's based in Washington, D.C. It don't matter what party it is. It don't matter shit. Okay? All I know is the Epstein list. Nobody's been arrested. They ain't enforcing no laws either. And, the Republicans are going to be so pissed off they're not going to vote during the midterms. The Democrats are going to take the House and the Senate, and Trump is going to be going bye-bye. His inaction is going to cause them to act in a way to get rid of him. Okay? But let's not hurt anybody's feelings. I'm so sick of this stuff. I served my country, and now it's run by a bunch of spineless politicians that all they want, they're criminals. Criminals. Like you say, go to Memorial Day service and start talking about war with Russia right away. I don't like what Putin's doing. Then don't go over there. You're still supporting the Ukraine war, Trump. You want to get rid of it? Stop sending them shit. Period. End of story. Oh, you're making trade deals with them right away, right? Oh, that's going to help out. What's a trade deal going to help when Russia has the territory? Okay, this is what happens. You don't piss off your neighbor. And because Ukraine wanted to get huggy and kissy with NATO, Ukraine was the first victim of Russia being surrounded. All this stuff going on over the years, slowly. Like I say, maybe we need China in Mexico. We need Russia in Canada. And then, I don't know, a bunch of Iranian ships off the coast. Maybe America would start understanding how the world really works. What are your sources? Seriously. Oh, Trump's not supporting the Ukraine war? It's sources. I grew up learning facts. Okay? We don't interest ourselves in the facts anymore. This is fake news, that's fake news. I don't know. Okay, Trump's not supporting the Ukraine war. Okay. Whatever. See, this is the stuff you got to listen to. Yeah, let me tell you something there, sir, Mr. Show's Cemetery. I was once, when I was in the service, doing something. And Time Magazine came out with an article, front page cover, which was completely not the truth what was going on. First-hand experience. Oh, maybe they're lying to us. You fucking think so? They want war. That's why they're spending all this money on war. Whether they're a bunch of all-star wrestlers, bad source. I know personal experience is a bad source. You know what, dude? If you don't know what the hell's going on, shut the hell up. I was a little 19-year-old kid or 18-year-old kid from Minnesota that went to boot camp, and 2 years later, I had my eyes completely wide open on how the world really works. If you haven't experienced that, you probably wouldn't know. So you go live in your bubble, okay? 9/11 was never going to happen in your eyes, I'm sure, right? When I was spouting it for 7 years that they were going to get us. But did you see that coming? No, you probably watched your bad source, the news. When you travel the world and you do get to experience the world the way it really is instead of this leave it to beaver land we live in, then have an opinion. But if personal experience is a bad source, I don't know what the hell to tell you. Get off your computer and get the hell outside your door and look outside. This is what you got to deal with. This is why these people are allowed to get away with this shit. Because you actually got people out there that believe this. Well, I hope nobody in your family ends up going and paying the ultimate sacrifice because you want to believe what you want to believe. I was 18 coming down off the cocaine when the trade centers were hit. Yeah, and I was telling people when I got out of the Marine Corps, since I dealt with terrorism, that they were going to get us in 1994 for 7 years. And I got told I was crazy, all this other shit. That's why when the Twin Towers got hit, I was watching on TV on the news. I got up, had my coffee, I've been watching it. And everybody's getting all excited. I said, what are you getting excited about? I told you this was going to happen for years. Anyway, when people get together on both sides that are Americans and realize who the enemy is, okay? It's not my neighbor or you, Mr. Show Cemetery. Not. We can disagree, but I'd rather sit down and have a beer with you and have a good time and barbecue than fight with you. I'd rather you in my foxhole than somebody had to fight that was coming at my foxhole because we're Americans. But our true enemy is the one telling us that your neighbor's your enemy, these politicians, the one trying to create hate, discontent. Okay? And then they want, let's have a Memorial Day service, but Russia's pissing me off. And I'm going to call any politician up because I don't follow the Republican or the Democrat banner. I'm an American, a constitutional American, conservative, but a constitutional American. Okay? We don't live in a democracy. If we do, we got a Democrat democracy and a Republican democracy. Or we can have a constitutional republic, which we all live under, which protects all of us and gives us all equal rights. Not depending on what 50% happen to say at the time. I am frustrated. You know why I get so frustrated? Because nobody's trying to solve any $1 trillion on weapons on the Department of Defense. Can we spend, I don't know, $100 million on trying to get along? I mean, they try to get the people all razzed up for this stuff, and we're the ones that are going to hurt the worst. When rations are going to get rationed with food and gasoline and whatever, clothes, it's not going to be the higher ups. They're still going to be having their steak and lobster. I just don't understand it. Mankind, war after war after war, and then you just talk about and spend more money on it. It just repeats itself and repeats itself and repeats itself. And we have these holidays to sit there and recognize the fallen. Like I say, maybe we should try it instead of, we want to thank them, let's try to shoot for peace. If anybody's seen that short that I put out of that nuclear explosion, that was a pretty good one. Made the camera shake and stuff. But anyway, yeah, that's what war is going to look like. Time for peace. Understand, Danielson? From Karate Kid. We can't have this. You want your kids to suffer? You want to lose somebody so you can remember them on Memorial Day? Wondering when you lost them, why did they really die? Because you're going to look at politics a whole different way then. Completely different way because it just personally affected you. Just like those families that lost their daughters to rape and murder due to those illegal aliens. All of a sudden they look at politics way different because it affected them personally. I know the Karate Kid, man. I know, but it's just, can we all get along? Why do we sit? Okay, there's no more land on this earth. Maybe the Antarctic that a country doesn't own, okay? There's nowhere human beings can go no more and colonize it, okay? All the land's used up. So maybe, I tell you what, maybe we should get some people together, like countries, if we started getting along together and get all the brains together, and we can start spending money on getting off this planet and expanding the human race instead of destroying it. And see, we get into that's the elephant in the room. I'm racist as hell now, though. I've been treated bad by a lot of people, and most of them white. I mean, when I was in the service, I had trouble with other races, but my best friends one was Mexican, one was black, and one was a hillbilly from North Carolina. I look at people there's plenty of other reasons to hate somebody, okay, or dislike somebody. I want to use the word hate. But, that just shuts you down. If you shut somebody down because they fit a specific stereotype that you don't like, you're not allowing a lot of people into your life that are good people. Just like these companies that went woke and shut out half their customers because they didn't politically agree with them. What company does that? And they lost business because they cut a lot of good people out. Clarence Thomas is a good black man. So, and they're good black men throughout history. I'm a 50-cent Mexican. 50. I tell you what, my Mexican buddy from the Marine Corps, he was so cool. He was one crazy ass son of a bitch. Leo Estrada was his name. He was from California. Crazy as hell. Cool. Anyway, but I just don't find, I've had lots of friends from, even people that we didn't even speak the same language. I happened to be working with on a job site, and we were able to become friends. I think when you can feel you can trust somebody, it's a mutual thing. But I've never had a problem. I never had a problem going into another country and getting along with the people in that country. I never, ever went over there thinking that, like America's best. We are always find a reason to separate ourselves from human nature. We will never meant to have society groups in thousands. We have villages in conflict that will never end. Trust is everything. Yeah, see, my other channel is called Lone Wolf Prepper Lives, okay? It used to be Lone Wolf Prepper, that got canceled. I'm a lone wolf. I understand completely. I live in counties that have less than 1,000 people in. That's the one I work in. The one I live in has less than 2,000 people in the whole county. Where I go work at the ranch, there's maybe one person every 30 square miles. Okay? I love being outside. They always have this show Survivor, right? I could handle the island, no problem. You put me in the middle of New York City, I'll be the first one off the show, whatever it takes, because that'd probably be the only way I can escape that damn place. But anyway, everybody's different. But anyway, I got a few people here. I like if you could like and subscribe and share the stuff, content, if you would. Check out my shorts. You might like some. American exceptionalism is disgusting. I don't know how to answer that. American exceptionalism. I don't feel I'm better than anybody. I feel I'm an American, but I don't feel I'm better than anybody else from any other country, whether they be poor or rich. That doesn't bother me. Okay, they belong to the human race just like me. If I were to feel I was exceptional to other human beings, that would mean I would think, well, I have an ego that I'd be narcissist, basically. Okay, feeling better. It's not like when I compete in sports, I compete against people that are really good. I like competing against people that are better than me. Are you a farmer looking for a bailout? No, I'll tell you what. No, I've worked for a lot of farmers and I work for ranchers. I personally, I don't know how they make it, but this is the thing about these farmers. Like, we don't need a Department of Agriculture because these farmers, I'm telling you what, when they sit there and wait for their subsidies check, which I call welfare, it's crock shit. Getting paid not to farm land, not to do work. But that's what happens when your government gets involved in farming and they're trying to regulate everything. It's crock shit. Okay, but I like farming. I've never owned a farm, but I've been, I was a farm kid, and then I got into, always wanted to be a cowboy, and I got into the ranching and stuff. But, one thing about it, they just shouldn't be subsidized. You don't need to live in $1 million house and drive a brand new pickup every year, okay? You need to be like every other business and live within your means. And yes, sir, and that's why the larger cities have the most mental illness in per capita, but so many compact together, most people can't handle the mental stress. Richest country in the world that starves its own. Yeah, I know. But what are we spending our money on? $1 trillion to the Department of Defense. Who cares about our kids? We'll get them growing up through school just enough to learn how to sit there and go to war. I don't expect everybody to believe me or agree with me. But I'll tell you what, as a Marine, I will protect every American citizen, whether they agree with me or not. Okay? I definitely don't feel I'm better than anybody. I just feel, I have a different purpose in life or something. But I'm willing. I got kids and grandkids. I don't want them to have to grow up not free. Because, my girls, I had all girls. Farmers and truck drivers are the backbone of this country. Yeah, I realize that, especially. We make the food. This is the thing. If all the farmers and ranchers and truck drivers could forget about that green piece of paper for a week, we could put this country to its knees. But it'll never happen. Are you're a trucker? I worked at a truck stop there in Big Springs, Nebraska for a while, the pilot. And how do you deal with all these guys that can't read or speak English? It's crazy. I won't drive the interstates no more. I know that. Spending it on rich men's greed wars. Yeah, sending our kids. Then they have a Memorial Day. We'll have a service. We'll stand up so people can be proud. And these guys are nothing but cowards. Okay? Yeah, I know, putting up with those non-English speaking thing. I got a question. How do you pass a CDL test if you cannot read English or speak English? That would mean you also cannot read the signs. Yeah, and all them city folks would starve. Something to think about. We all need to get together. I'm ready for it. We could put the country to its knees in no time. But we all got to get together. And they'll have the people that they just won't toe the line. Like the trucker thing they had up in Canada. That was something strong, that it got so strong that the government had to interfere to stop it. Taking people, seizing their bank accounts, freezing their bank accounts, taking their spare fuel they had, taking their trucks. It's not freeloaders. I don't understand people. Why don't they all get a job? We got an unemployment problem in this country. No, we don't. Kick out all the illegals that are working here. Put everybody to work. Get rid of the Department of Health and Human Services, and put everybody to work. But see, everybody might be pissed off at that at first. They get all worked up. But after a month and everybody's working their own job and realize they're making more money and more successful than they were on the county, oh my God. But see, then that would make people independent, self-sufficient, and understand that the government were trying to make them slaves. So we can't have that. You know, me being in agriculture, and I got to hear these politicians say, well, we need them in here because we don't have nobody to pick our crops or deal with our food. My first husband died of Agent Orange cancer fighting in this great country. I had a Vietnam vet friend that died of Agent Orange too. But remember, that was all a myth at first. Remember, the government never lies to us. Anyway, we got a mess of problems here. And until we all get on the same page and recognize who our enemy is, and we stand up to them, and we do these little boycotts, I know I would love, and that's another thing. Bringing these people in to do these jobs. I mean, they complain about 59 South Africans that came on an airplane, and we got 100,000 South Africans in this country working in the agriculture business because they can't get nobody else to do it. And they're worried about 59. These South Africans come here and work for 8 months during the summer and fall, and they go back home to South Africa, which is summer, and they enjoy their time off and go scuba diving and stuff, and then they come back here to work, living a nice little life. Well, let's all get concerned about 59. But I'm sick and tired of politicians saying, well, we need them in here because we can't take care of our food. And I'm sick and tired of having to compete with jobs against these people. And then Trump wants to bring more of them in. No, let's put our people to work. If we're too lazy to feed ourselves, then we should starve. There's no other way to put it. I mean, and then we were supposed to put illegals into the military so they could get their citizenship through that. Boy, just like Rome, let's have the barbarians guard our gates. Anyway, this Memorial Day stuff it has me upset. I'm so sick of war. That's why Trump put work requirements in Section 8 housing. Yeah, but they need to get rid of it altogether. Get rid of Department of Health and Human Services and food stamp, SNAP, all of that right away, because we got enough jobs in this country to employ everybody. But they're not going to get out and get employed as long as their hands keep getting full. They think they got everything and they got nothing. They're living a miserable existence for some handouts from the government. Remember how that worked out for the Indians? Oh, you guys just come to these reservations and you settle down and be good Indians, and we'll make sure we always have your supplies there. How'd that work out for them? Not very damn good now, does it? But nobody learns from history. All I need to see is correlations between what the white man did to the Indian culture, or say a government did to our Indian culture. Hi from Boston. I can't agree more. Well, hello, Boston. Out there on the coast. No need to yell. It makes you look weak. No, it's just, like I say, I'm a jarhead. I just know how to talk loud. It's frustrating. And it's frustrating to see that the government is succeeding in dividing people on the most basic things, the most basic characteristics. And I don't think anybody's really happy anymore in this country. I agree with you, but there are some that legitimately need, and problems are the ones who don't need, abuse it. No, you have to be right the first time, white man. People abuse it. I mean, we got people on welfare receiving Social Security welfare that aren't even American citizens. That was one thing when pass all these big spending bills, all the fraud that was happening from these spending bills from people sitting on their computers from other countries. We just need to get rid of it. Now, we have churches and we have family. As long as we get everybody working, okay, you should be able to take care of your families. They should, I hope my kids never put me in a nursing home. When I was growing up, there was always one room upstairs that the mother or the father, they died at home. We need to bring that back. But anyway, no, I get a little passionate sometimes. I just, how else is a Marine supposed to act? I mean, I was taught. Well, not that I didn't like them anyway, but when you're in service, you're taught to hate. And I was taught to hate terrorists and communists. What do you think all those chants when you're running outside, running in formation are all about? Just like a Marine, I know. I always say we're nuts. This is why I'm a lone wolf too, because I don't think anybody else should have to put up with me. You on YouTube, you're all, voluntarily coming to come see me talk. But, I'm out there when I'm out in the pastures, out in the ranch, I'm by myself. I love it. I'm at peace. And I don't know, I guess I suffer from, I don't know what you would call it, getting fucked over too much itis. I realize that human beings can be good, but they can be swayed so easy. Some can be just blow with the wind and be swayed so easy over the stupidest stuff. You have a smile on your face. That's good. So you're trucking. Mr. Show Cemetery is a trucker. Hope to see you here whenever possible. I know your reception probably sometimes ain't so great, but I sure appreciate you being here. This thing, we're all Americans. In the shorts I put out, I'm trying to explain to everybody, we're all Americans. I'm not going to get on here and hold the Democratic flag or the Republican flag. I hold the American flag. When you see my shorts up at the ranch, I got the American flag behind me. Okay? I don't care what your beliefs are. You're allowed to believe that in this country. But I'm not forced to believe it. Okay? As long as you're exercising your rights and not infringing on somebody else's rights, you're good to go. Okay, if you got to live your life thinking I got to live it the same way, you and I are going to have problems because I'm going to pursue my happiness, not your happiness. Do you honor your oath or do you honor a man? I honor God, but I do honor and will fulfill my oath to the Constitution of the United States and the American people. The presidents that were, follow the orders of the president, those presidents are no longer in office. Haven't been for over 30 years. Before I got out of the Army, I had already figured out we were fighting for corporations and military industrial complex, not freedom. If this man keeps looking at his camera and those dreamy eyes, he's going to find himself in a... Yeah, see, this is when I traveled the world as a Marine, like I say, 18-year-old kid, go to boot camp, and within 2 years, I saw 11 different countries and got to see how the world really worked. And that's why I'm not a big fan of money. Because just the way the U.S. would go around and push other countries around, we could do whatever we wanted. And this was back in the mid and late 80s, and I saw the hatred, especially in the Middle East, that people were getting towards us. I mean, you can't drop a bomb on somebody's house. Okay? The father goes off to work, comes home, and his house is gone, and his family's all dead. Expect not to create enemies and say, oh, we're sorry. Can we give you a little bit of money? Anyway, I don't know what's going on. The whole world's just on fire. It's like the devil's in control and nobody can wake themselves up. And the people that are trying to screaming at the top of their lungs, the town crier out there screaming at the top of their lungs, saying, everybody, you need to wake up. And everybody just listening to the music of the Pied Piper and can't see what's really coming down, like that short I made. If you don't know who your enemy is, they're going to come to you as your savior every time. Our government's our enemy, whether it be Republican or Democrat. What our country's federal government has turned into has become the people's enemy. I don't like saying that. I don't remember feeling that way when I was a kid, when I was a Marine in the 90s, but now I sure feel it. I don't know what's going to take for people to realize, most agreed, thank you. Most people in the U.S. haven't left the country. They were born and makes very, yeah. Oh, that's one thing with me. You know, up until 18, I never went more than 100 miles from where I lived. And within the first year, I'm halfway across the world. And maybe me being that ignorant is why my eyes were opened up so much and why I saw. It's just like experiencing everything for the first time. You know, it was eye-opening. And then I come back to the States and I see how spoiled we really were. How even the poorest person living in the streets in America has it better than 75% of the population of the world. You need a joke. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's see. A joke. What's USMC stand for? You know, United States Marine Corps. It stands for You Suckers Miss Christmas. Happened a few times. Or Uncle Sam's Misguided Children. What's the sound ship makes when it goes through a fan? Marine. I've heard them all, man. I tell you what, I had a Navy chief call me a cucumber once. As a retired deputy, I smell bullcrap from a mile away. Okay, well, whatever. You can go, whatever. I guess I got a copper in here. I don't believe that for a second, because no cop understands the military. If they did, they wouldn't act like such fucking pricks. I used to carry weapons through international airports, but if I had an attitude like the fucking police state cops do nowadays, I wouldn't have been able to do that, you piece of shit. Oh, I'm sorry. You can come arrest me? Fucking fags. I had the sheriff here the other day when I called him up because of some bullshit, and I had him apologizing to me and opening up to me about how he can't even get INS to come to take the illegals out. He's just got to let them go. And I kept saying, well, how many illegals you got living in the country? Don't give me any shit. Cops don't enforce the law. They're nothing but a bunch of paid off pricks. Cops. Untrained pussies. Yeah, a cop. Let's see. I'd like to see a cop on a one-on-one fight. Oh, that's right. They don't win. It's got to be at least 6 or 10 on one. I just don't have time for them anymore. They don't enforce the law. You want to be a deputy? How about doing something about the Epstein list there, sir? How about doing something about the real criminals of this country that are in charge of it, sir? What about your sir? This is what I told the sheriff. And I kept asking, how many illegals do we have living in this county? I said, why don't you let all of us get together and get rid of them? I have no time for cops. I don't break the fucking law because the people that are breaking the law don't have to worry about going to jail. Anyway, you know, I don't want to sit there and stop a car at 2 a.m. on a deserted road. I don't want to deal with such stuff. You know, military, I could just go up carrying my weapon pointing at them. Can't do that as a cop. I never said a cop's job isn't dangerous. But I don't have time for the pieces of shit. Like I say, when we start seeing some real criminals getting arrested, and I actually see some police officers enforcing the law on real criminals, then maybe I'll get my confidence back in the cops. You deputy sheriff from a county, a small county. Let me tell you something about this county, sir. We have one sheriff, 3 deputies, and 1 state trooper in the whole county. We get along with our cops a little bit different than you're probably used to getting along with yours. And we're not afraid, or don't have to be afraid, to tell them how we really think. Bullshit. You think that's why I'm on YouTube, to spread bullshit, to get clicks? No, I'm on YouTube so in my retirement years, I ain't got to fight a civil war. I ain't got to fight a war to get my country back. And since we have nobody, especially in law enforcement, that wants to enforce the laws or arrest people, that's what it's coming to. I remember growing up with cops. They were cool. I don't want to say cool. They did their jobs, but they realized they were to serve the public, not to harass them, torment them, and stand over them. Anyway, you know, if you copped all these cops that want to be such badasses, go to New York City. You want to know what it's like to be in the military? Join the military. Okay. Another reason I'm not a cop is I don't have patience to be a cop. Like I say, if I went to a call where I have a domestic abuse and both of them are being assholes, they're both going to jail. I know the DA, but you know what? When the DA don't do their work, I can't imagine. No, I do imagine what it's like. Let's say you go on a reconnaissance mission, right? And you come back with your information. And you got your stupid ass civilian that goes, no, it can't be that way, and throws in the fucking trash. Is that what you feel like? Like you can see it there and the DA won't do shit about it? Well, maybe we should get public and start saying, hey, this DA is a crook. Stand on the street corner as a deputy and saying, hey, you can still do that. I mean, if you're not allowed to do your job, why can't you sit there and pronounce it to everybody else so everybody else can know that your hands are tied? You know, like my sheriff telling me that he's just got to let the illegals go. You can have a carload of them going down the interstate. And nobody's got a license, and he's just got to let them go. We got the illegals shooting bald eagles out there in northern Nebraska. And we can't do nothing about it because the feds won't do nothing about it. And I can't even pick up an eagle feather from a dead eagle in the pasture, or I'll spend 25 years in prison. Freddie Browder, hi. It won't matter, bro. They'll have qualified immunity. No, yeah, because we allow it. This is one thing the American people need to figure out. We have the power. They don't. Their power is an illusion that they think have over us. Okay? They think January 6th was bad? You know, maybe we should do what they did, surround Washington, D.C. with like 2 million men. Shoot anything that flies in the air and stuff. Surround it. Okay? I would like to get through it peacefully. You know, kind of like, I can't remember who was it. What king was handed the Magna Carta at the end of his sword? Yeah, you can still be in charge, but you'll bow to us. Was that Richard? I can't remember. My English history isn't all that great. But he even says in the Declaration of Independence, we have to throw off this government and, you know, have new guards to protect our freedoms and liberty. I don't want to spend another 40 years like this. I don't want to be alive for another 40 years to experience worse shit, worse shit, worse shit. All our inactions that we do today is going to cause us to endure the actions of our government in the future. When peaceful means are exhausted, we need to take the next step. I agree. Like Frederick Douglass said, a black man, oh my God. First, it's the ballot box. We done that. Then it's the jury box. And with these judges, that's happening. And then it's the cartridge box. See, I think we've gone past the cartridge box point a long time ago. But they got American law. We got us dependent on them. Oh my God, if you stand up to them, you're just terrible. I spent my retirement making people aware of case. It's my mission in life. Ships, railway, farmers, and truckers just shut down. Yeah. I mean, we could put the country at its knees in days. Days. I would love to see it. I would love all the trucks just sit there say we're parking. Not even a convoy shit. Just park. Shut your rig down if you're at a rest area, a truck stop, whatever, at home, and park it. Okay? And the farmers and ranchers go, you know what? You ain't getting one piece of food. They can sell it directly out of their place. Imagine farmers selling heads of cow or cattle to people. Oh, I need a cow for butchering. Okay, come pick one out and pay me as you leave. Oh, that would take out government control now, wouldn't it? But people would still be feeding. Demand Trump go. It doesn't matter if you're Democrat or Republican. See, this is the thing. It's all thinking that good cop, bad cop shit. They're both cops. You know, it's just a sticky situation we're into. God, I'm almost up to an hour. I didn't expect to go this long tonight, but I'm upset about this. I mean, what Memorial Day should be remembering the people that died in war and trying to prevent that from happening again. People should remember the people that died to create this country. Nobody remembers nothing, just like the 4th of July comes and goes. Stick with Constitution. Yeah, if we stuck to a constitutional republic, the rules of the Constitution, where the Constitution handcuffs the government and restricts it from messing with us. Oh, I'm ranting about, you coming in a little late, 43 minutes in. I am ranting about, hey, I think I remember you from my other channel, Zay661. But I'm ranting about, I want peace. I want Memorial Days not so we have to remember more people that died. I want to take our country back, and there's a lot to complain about that. I took an oath to my Constitution, not a man. Exactly. Okay, I'm late to the street. It's all right. Exactly. Just because we're not in the service anymore doesn't mean you can't take that oath away from us. I mean, I took that oath more than once. I became a Marine, you become a Marine for life. Just like I'm sure it's in the Army, in the Navy, in the Air Force, and in the Coast Guard. And when it comes to us losing our country, we're not going to lose our minds, okay? I visited the local cemetery this weekend to see all the fallen soldiers and the glory of the United States flag. Damn, bro, you sound like me. I never voted. Voting only helps the government to the pulse of the people. I love that we are so divided. They love that we are so divided. Well, this is the thing with voting, right? If you get to vote for Lucifer or Lucifer's son, which one's the better vote again? When George Washington runs, we have a George Washington again. Somebody who understands the Constitution that's going to cut government. We want to cut spending. Boy, I tell you how we can pay off the federal deficit real quick. Get rid of all the departments except the cabinet members except the Secretary of Defense, Secretary of State, Secretary of Treasury, and the Attorney General, and use all that money that they were spending on the rest of the government and pay off the debt. Yeah, but fighting corruption is hard to do because it's so. This is why I hate money so much. Money, I feel, is a necessary evil that the world has to deal with, and I plan on partaking in as least amount of it as possible. But when you get money, people just do stupid things. Like when I hear that every congressman, senator, and Supreme Court justice has multiple lobbyists, okay, with pocketfuls of money. The American people only get, courted, every couple of years. Some billionaires are evil, and I'm sure there's some billionaires that are good. Not everybody that made their money working their ass off is an evil person. I met lots of rich people that were really good. And I met lots of rich people that were really bad. And I met lots of poor people that were really bad. See, this is the thing. People are people. And just like Congress and the Senate and stuff, people, these people are they're terrible people. Yeah, well, they represent America, all Americans, even the evil ones. Anyway, I'm ready to take the next step. If I gotta die on my feet, I will not become a slave to this shit. And what I've even told my kids, if I die in a battle protecting my country, so I'm also protecting you and everybody else's kids. We're all Americans. You live your oath. Oh, I live it big time. I try to always stay where I can react at any moment, okay? Yeah, I'm getting a little older, but, I still stay in shape, that type of stuff. Don't say it too loud right now. Amen, amen, amen. I sure appreciate everybody being here. If you could hit that like and subscribe, I sure would, because YouTube doesn't like this stuff getting long. YouTube will promote all day long people that are spreading fear, division, anything to help them take control. YouTube will push. Social media will push. It's crazy. Why don't they just take it to the lunatic asylum and say, here, hey, you want to be a YouTuber? Make this content. We'll sit there and give you money. I mean, some of the people that I've seen on social media that are making thousands of dollars a day, I know they're watching. Be careful. Let me tell you something. I don't give a fuck no more. Okay. If the FBI wants to come out and do a 6 a.m. raid on my ass and take my ass out, so be it. I don't care anymore. I can't deal with facing the enemy every day and not being allowed to do anything about it. Bring on the motherfuckers, okay? All I know is I'm allowed to defend myself with extreme prejudice when that happens. I don't care. I have people all the time. You got to be careful what you say on YouTube. Why? I'm not yelling fire in the theater. I'm not telling anybody to go off and kill anybody. I'm not saying anything that you should hate your neighbor like the politicians are. I'm saying you should get along with your neighbor and recognize who the real enemy is. All our side needs is the right person to follow, and it's not Donald Trump. It's not going to be a politician. It's not going to be nothing like that. It's going to be somebody that comes out of nowhere from some situation that's going to be, people are going to know that he's for the right cause. Okay? It's not going to be from anybody that's in D.C. now. Okay? The savior that's going to save our people. And I don't even want to say the savior. That's the wrong word. The man that's going to lead us out of this frickin' bondage isn't in D.C. right now. Thanks, Citizens United, for this horseshit. Oh, I tell you what, guess what? We're paying for all that. That's another thing. Don't tell them this shit because they'll use it against you and strengthen numbers. I don't care. I'm a lone wolf. My other channel is Lone Wolf Prepper Lives. If you want to go check out that one, I'm a lone wolf. You know, this is the way I like to say it. In World War II, they had a saying. You could surround 80,000 Germans and they'd surrender. But 80,000 Marines could surround one Japanese and he wouldn't surrender. I guess I got Japanese in me because I don't give a shit how bad the odds are. Because, you know what? I got an answer to the guy upstairs. And the second that I waver on that, my life ain't worth anything anyway, is it now? Kamikaze. It's just I've had enough. I've had enough. I'm 57 years old. I remember what it used to be like when we were told we weren't even free by our parents and our grandparents. But I remember what it was like when every cop did have a cop car before cell phones, when we were able to go out and have fun. If you got in trouble as a kid, we didn't even think about doing half the stuff they do now, but the cops took you home because they knew your parents would deal with it. That would straighten you out more than going through some juvenile. Anyway, I'm pissed. What do I go to work for and pay taxes? So we can spend more money on war? I'm working every day to pay money in taxes, to spend money to kill Russians or Iranians or whatever? Is that why you go to work? I mean, you got to feel guilty after a while that you are adding to the responsibility of some of these deaths. I want to unplug myself from the whole system completely. Divide and conquer is their game. Exactly. And like I say, people get what they can divide on. And I say, if you get divided on what skin color you are, the most basic thing there is, if you're stupid enough to get divided on that, knowing that all people are the same, no matter what nationality or color is, the human core is all the same. You got evil ones and good ones. Quit working, problem solving. Well, like I say, I need some of that necessary evil, but let me tell you something. I don't need much of it. I'll never sit there and live on the system. It's always been their game. Yeah. And we just fall for it. And now it's just getting... I mean, look at what happened in 2020. The con game they played then. I never once wore a mask, social distanced, went the opposite way in the lines at Walmart, went to work every day, and I've never, ever had COVID. Never got the vaccine. How is that possible? I should be dead now. That's what our politicians were telling us, right? You're a YouTuber. I have 3 channels. This is my channel, advocacy channel. It works great for my PTSD. Exactly. That's why I'm on here. My PTSD. You know, I was out there on the ranch in the middle of nowhere waiting for the end to come because I was just going to survive on my own, right? And then Oliver Anthony had to come out with that song. And it made me feel guilty for making sure I was going to be okay, but nobody else. So I started my one channel, Lone Wolf Prepper. And, you know, I had they demonetized me, and they finally canceled the channel, gave me strikes, and finally canceled the channel, canceled the whole email. So I started up another channel, and they're hard on me. They don't want this getting out. The last thing they want is a Republican and Democrat in the same room talking, discussing something, and then start agreeing with each other. That would be the last thing they want. They can be counted on all fingers. Yep. Racism, religion, politics, economics, sexual identity, a million ways they can divide us. How about we just say we're all human beings that are different in our own ways. We're all human beings, but they're all individuals. And you know what? You have a right to be an individual as long as you don't infringe on me being my individual. Well, thank you for subscribing, Sunshine. Appreciate you being here. Okay? Anybody else out there that likes and subscribes, share the content. I tell you what, watch some of my shorts. You see why YouTube doesn't like me, but I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to talk about the industry that pays 40% of their income to YouTube. I won't talk bad about them anymore. I'm just saying, if you want to stay healthy, I would suggest getting a gym membership instead of a prescription. I don't realize some people can't, but, staying healthy is very important. Not to be dependent on anybody for anything. And that's, you got to maintain your health. And you may be in your 50s and think you're unhealthy, and you're going to have to start out slow. But start going to the gym and doing little things and building yourself up. And pretty soon you'll start throwing those medication bottles away. And you'll start feeling stronger, and you'll have more energy and stuff. That's what I push when it comes to that stuff. The doctor, when has a doctor or a pharmaceutical company ever kept a person living forever? No, but they sure took enough of their money before they died. Well, thank you for being Mr. Show's Cemetery. Make sure you drive safely. My brother was a trucker back in the 90s, and I listened to Rush Limbaugh. I used to love going down the interstate with him, driving his truck, listen to Louis L'Amour audio tapes and stuff. Oh, yeah, it was awesome. Hey, I tell you what, Mr. Show Cemetery, I do got a tribute to the truckers, a tribute to the truckers on my channel. If you scroll down, I can't remember what I named it, some about what keeps our country moving or something, but I do got tribute to truckers. I tell you what, I hate driving just when I drive long distances and just being tired and trying to get there. Don't let the government or anyone else rob your joy. I used to let change frustrate me. You as old men have to gently resist change. I subscribe. Well, thank you. Yeah, but I still miss the old days. Like I say, I'm not a big technology people and be like, well, you're on YouTube, you're using technology. Yeah, until stuff gets down. But I love to be on YouTube doing, putting out material content like The Red Green Show and like Lone Wolf's Wild Kingdom and stuff like that. That's what I'd rather do. I'd rather sit there. I mean, remember the days when all we had to worry about was Monica Lewinsky? Does anybody remember them days? Oh, times have changed. I like to go back just to those days when we thought things were so rough. Anyway, I fucking love red, green, and duct tape. Yeah, I want to do something like that. I have so many ideas that I want to produce. Well, I tell you what, Mr. Show Cemetery. All right, when I start that up and I need characters, I guess you're my trucker, because none of my friends, and the best thing about my friends, if we started a show, none of us would have to wear costumes. By the way, I'm going to need characters, but I would love to have that. If I could start making money on YouTube and put it back into YouTube, and I'd rather make people laugh. And I believe that social media is a new Hollywood, where if you get the right stuff together, you can actually make movies, put it on there, and earn money that way. But I want to make people laugh. But right now, people have to be informed of what's going on. I'm in Washington State, East Side. Oh, yeah. I was out there on a small ranch out in Republic, Washington for a while. But yeah, when I was stationed out Woodby Island and stuff, yeah, there's a big difference between the one side of the mountains and the other side of the mountains out there, isn't there? Anyway, oh my goodness, I've been going for a while now. But anyway, I guess my bottom message is tonight, because I got to get going, is I know Woodby Island's on the west side, but I'm just saying that's where I was stationed. I drive the Interstate 90 through Minnesota. And that was another thing I want to tell you. When I used to take Interstate 90 and I used to go through Spokane and Coeur d'Alene, there used to be forest in between those two cities, okay? You could tell where one started. And, you know, the road through Spokane and Coeur d'Alene was 2-lane interstate on both sides, nice and quiet. But I tell you what, when I went out there 3 years ago, whew, has that changed? Oh, also, if you're going down Interstate 90, boy, you make that turn into Montana out of Idaho. Isn't that one wonderful sight? Anyway, I love it out there. But anyway, I guess we all need to get together and realize who our enemy is. And we all need to stick to them. Like I say, farmers and ranchers get together. In 1 week, we could have Washington on its knees. Or else they bring the military out. We get this fight started to see if we're actually citizens or if we're actually slaves in this country. Because if we can protest and they don't do nothing, we're citizens. If they bring out the military to start the food and trucks rolling again, I guess we're slaves. Okay? You know, in a democracy, how did I say that? I keep forgetting how I said that. I made a short about. Anyway, that's why our government sits here and says democracy. I mean, you're president of the United States and you're going to call our government a democracy when it's a constitutional republic. If these people are too stupid to even know what form of government we have, you know, that's why our country's running into the ground, because our democracy we're trying to create is destroying the constitutional republic we have. It's the admin we need to change and bring back the Constitution. I mean, we got the Department of Agriculture. So now the government's in our tractors and our combines and stuff. Department of Transportation. How do you like that, Mr. Show Cemetery, dealing with the DOT? Fuck them bastards, okay? Health and Human Services, great. Now we got the government in our bedrooms, in our homes. Department of Education, great. Now we got them in our schools. We'll see how that worked out. Thank God I got an education before the Department of Education. Are you familiar with the YouTuber called The Enemy from Within? He's a long haul. No, but I'll check him out. Thank you for telling me that. I'll definitely check him out. Democracy has two wolves and a sheep deciding on what's for dinner. Exactly. And depending on who gets voted in, you can be a sheep one day and a wolf the next day. Just like when this government passes laws, you're a law-abiding citizen one day, and then you're doing the same thing the next day, but you're a felon because they passed the law. Or the ATF came out with a regulation. I can't believe we got a government agency that restricts our Second Amendment. I mean, all this stuff is asinine. Or not restricts, they'll say regulate. You're infringing on it, you pieces of garbage, okay? That's why any law passed ever that has to deal with infringing on your Second Amendment rights is unconstitutional. Flat out. You don't have to like guns. You don't have to get a gun. You're not required to exercise your constitutional rights. But you can't take it away from people that do want to just because you don't want to. Shall not be infringed, exactly. But remember, these guys got 20 years of college, and that phrase to them just like, I don't know what that means. What the hell does that mean again? You know, maybe if everybody was armed, crime would go down. Maybe people wouldn't break into other people's houses if they knew they were going to get blown away. You know, we can't all have counties like Sheriff Grady Judd is in charge of in Florida. But, you know, he obviously believes in the Constitution, the people's right to defend themselves. Somebody breaks in your house, you blow them out, throw a shotgun, we'll be there to pick up the body. No questions asked. Now, do you think criminals are going to come to that county and try to break in somebody's house? You know, do you think these school shooters would go shoot up the schools if all the teachers were armed? I mean, jeepers Christ, we're trusting the teachers with our kids' minds and their developing their future. I think they should be allowed to have a gun in their desk to protect their kids from some retarded asshole that wants to create hate man. Grady is a great sheriff here in Florida. I tell you what, I love watching him. You know, maybe you guys need to sit there and put a bug in his ear about running for president, okay? Who would he be like? God, if Sheriff Grady Judd was president, who the hell would he be like? One we've never had before. That's a good way to put it. He's a total badass. Yeah. Because he realizes he's got a job to do, to protect. He's voted in to protect the citizens of his county. Not to play political games or kiss somebody's ass or please this my political group or this type of thinking. That's not what he's there for. And it's amazing. The crime rate. But let's have gun control in Chicago and just have killings nonstop. Gun control. But don't worry, that's not infringement. Control shall not be infringed. We're going to control your gun. See, this is the stuff we live in. Anyway. Yep, things are messed up. So, I got to go. I went way too long today. I can get hot because I'm sick and tired of seeing our country flush down the toilet, and I'm just working to help pay for it. And nobody's strong enough to stand up to these politicians and say this bullshit. We're going to have to get our hands dirty to solve this problem. And the longer we wait, the harder it's going to be, and more people are going to die in the process of solving the problem. It's kind of like, you know, the can's turned into a 10,000-gallon gasoline barrel with a bunch of dynamite in it, and we keep kicking it, okay? Good show. Remember, Trump hates you. I don't think of any politician that's ever, you know, when you live in D.C., and live the lifestyle they do, I find it really hard for them to identify with somebody like me, especially somebody like me who can't be bought. I don't care about money, drugs, sex, or none of that shit, so I can't be bought. So I'm just an honest man, simple, honest man who wants to be humble. Okay? Doesn't want to be dependent on anybody for anything, wants to take care of myself and be responsible for myself. Okay? The government don't want people like that because we can't be controlled. Anyway, you get yourself to that stage where you are independent, and like I say, I'm a lone wolf. It's relaxing. When you don't have the pressures of society pushing you around because you really don't care about them, it makes life a whole lot easier. Okay? Anyway, that's all I got for tonight. Everybody have a great night. You drive safe, Mr. Show Cemetery. Thank you for everybody subscribing. Appreciate everybody being here, and I will be back tomorrow.